tension meantime, and this leads in perfectly to our next segment when we're talking about Trump, because as you heard him say, he's always talking about immigration. The tension heating up between Mexico and Texas. Texas denying birth certificates for children born here to some undocumented immigrants. So there's a lot of legalities involved in this. Daily Caller's editor-in-chief, Christopher Bedford, is here, and it's good to see you in studio with us. Tell us what you know about this story and how it might play out.
So what Texas is telling the Mexican government is they're no longer going to accept the matriculas, which is the identification cards that the Mexican consulate gives illegals here in the country. It says they're not a valid form of identification. Mexico's saying absolutely they are. They actually have biometric data on them, unlike licenses. But it seems like it's really going to come down to a fight over whether or not you're a citizen if you're born here to illegals. The last time the 14th Amendment was considered in the Supreme Court over 100 years ago, it was a person born to people who are legally here. They're legal residents of the United States.
Right. So, okay, so that would have been a person who is in here legally. If they're illegal, it has never been tested whether the 14th Amendment applies. This will be a first if it goes up that high?
This will be a first. The 14th Amendment hasn't been addressed. It's been treated like law for about 130 years,
right,
just on the assumption. Now, there's an interesting thing where the Supreme Court said that it's all about where the United States has jurisdiction over you. So if you get arrested in the United States and we have jurisdiction over you, which is pretty much everyone except for ambassadors, then you are eligible, you're under the jurisdiction of the United States, and your children will be eligible for citizenship. But the Senate, when they were passing this, or when they were debating the 14th Amendment, said this does not apply to people who are just passing through the country. So the court will consider both of those.
Could be huge, right? I mean, if they rule that it applies and that they're citizens, that's one thing. But if it went the other way, this could be a huge ruling.
Yeah, it will. And unlike San Francisco, which is flouting federal immigration law, I think you're going to see the Obama administration hammer come down hard on Texas, and this is going to be a showdown.
So, they will, anything from the administration or officials on this particular case?
Yeah, the brief was just filed today by Mexico, which said, hey, this is really going to impact our relationship, Texas. And the lawsuit is ongoing, so I haven't heard anything from the administration
What are these IDs, though, that you were talking about?
They're called matriculas, and it's pretty much given out by the Mexican consulate. And it says that this person is a citizen of Mexico, and it works as identification, kind of like a passport. And Texas is saying this is not going to fly. Now, this is also impacting Mexicans who are trying to get identification, because these children, the children of illegal immigrants, should automatically get Mexican citizenship because they're born to Mexicans, although the lawsuit includes a couple of countries. If they can't get that birth certificate that shows their parents are Mexican because Texas won't accept the matriculation.
So they don't have a birth certificate at all?
They're in limbo right now.
Really? Yeah, so they're citizen, I mean, literally no man's land. These little babies that were born here in the United States, they just don't have a birth certificate.
Not right now. Texas refuses to issue it.
When were do you know how many people are involved? Or
There's 6 families that are suing from Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. So a number of countries, although Mexico's the only government that's weighed in with an amicus brief, which is just hey, this is our opinion, because they don't really have a stake in this other than watching out for their citizens. But they'll also say it's a violation of international law if you're putting people who should be their citizens into legal no man's land.
Wow. Thanks for coming in, explaining it all to us. But we'll check back, because obviously it's going to be important, as I say, especially if it goes the way we were talking about.
Thank you.
Christopher Bedford, Daily Caller, with us here on Cavuto, Coast to Coast, the Florida.